Welcome back to Newsx World. I'm Asuma Katauka and you are watching Focal Length, where we get you a briefing on topics from across the world. As U.S.-China rivalry deepens, the world faces a renewed power contest across trade, technology, and security. Beijing's assertiveness in the South China Sea and its belt, as well as road push, reshapes Asia's balance. U.S. deterrence over Taiwan remains firm but fragile. Washington and New Delhi seek deeper defense ties without breaking India's autonomy. With wars in Ukraine and Gaza straining resources, America must balance global leadership with home priorities as well. Joining us now is Frederick H. Fleitz, former CIA analyst and National Security Council Chief of Staff under President Trump, currently Vice Chairman at the America First Policy Institute. Today he shares insights on U.S.-China rivalry, Taiwan deterrence, India's strategic balance, intelligence dynamics, and how Washington can sustain global leadership while prioritizing domestic and security interests. Thank you very much for joining us. And welcome to Newsx World Focal Length. It's an honor to have you here. Frederick H. Fleitz. So my first question is, Mr. Fleitz, how do you assess the current trajectory of U.S.-China relations? Are we entering a prolonged Cold War-style rivalry, or is there still room for strategic cooperation between them?
Well, I'm disappointed where those relations are right now. President Trump would like to have productive relations with China. He would like to engage with Chinese President Xi diplomatically. He'd like to have a summit with Xi, but China is cheating on trade agreements. It is cheating on agreements with rare earth minerals. This caused the United States to place significant tariffs on China recently, and President Trump may not meet with President Xi at the APEC summit. I think this is very unfortunate, but it's not the end of the story. I believe that the Trump administration and their counterparts in the Chinese government are working hard to resolve these issues. But I think it's important for China to recognize that this is a president who will make deals with China, where both nations can grow rich, can be prosperous, and lower our tensions at the same time. It's a new era. It's a new president with a different approach. It's a president who has said, I think this was at a summit meeting in Saudi Arabia, he doesn't want America to have permanent enemies. He wants to strike trade deals with friends and foes alike to lower tensions and to promote our economies. That's what Chinese President Xi has to be thinking about.
And Mr. Fleitz, given your CIA background, how do intelligence dynamics today between U.S. and China differ from those of the Cold War era?
You know, it's interesting that many Americans don't understand that China is still a huge intelligence threat after the Cold War. They don't realize that when the Cold War ended, there still are very capable, very robust intelligence services that are trying to steal secrets and undermine American security. China's security service has always been excellent. It's much more aggressive now in stealing intellectual property, stealing defense secrets, and trying to undermine security and democracy worldwide. And I know they're very active in India. India has an excellent intelligence service. I've had the privilege of talking with Indian intelligence officers in my career. We have to keep our guard up because China is not interested in being a partner with democracies like the United States and India. China is an adversary.
And Mr. Fleitz, now speaking of India, how can Washington and New Delhi deepen defense and intelligence cooperation without pushing India away from its non-aligned stance, such as Russia?
I think a strong economic and security relationship between the U.S. and India is crucial. India is a close and trusted friend of the United States. I mean, there have been times in history when our relationship was not as good. I think that it is in India's interest to pursue this relationship with the U.S., but frankly, the U.S. cannot secure the interests of itself and other nations in the Indo-Pacific without a close relationship with India. There may be some differences on trade, but look, at the end of the day, and we saw Modi and Xi at that summit in China, I think it was last month. Really, I don't think there's going to be that close a relationship between China and India. I think India knows who its friends are. China's not one of them, but America is India's friend, and I think we had to build on that relationship.
And now looking back at Washington, do you believe Washington's support for both Israel and Ukraine is sustainable for long run, politically and economically in the long term?
I do, because America stands for freedom. America stands with its allies. President Trump is the most pro-Israel president in history, but he's also proven to be a president in dealing with the war in Gaza that will be tough with Israel and with Hamas. I think that's why he got this agreement. The U.S. is standing with Ukraine and standing up against this aggression from Vladimir Putin, which had no explanation, no justification, and is endangering global security. It is driving this axis between Russia and China, which is upsetting security not just in Europe but also in Asia. It's going to have a significant effect on Indian security. This is why Trump has moved significantly closer to Ukraine and Vladimir Zelensky, because Trump has noticed and is alarmed that Putin is frankly disrespecting him by rejecting his very generous peace offers. So I think we'll see a much closer U.S.-Ukraine relationship. I think substantially more powerful weapons will be sold to Ukraine over the next few weeks from the U.S. through NATO, and hopefully this will get Putin to the bargaining table.
And you've spoken about America First policies, and how can the U.S. balance domestic priorities with maintaining its global leadership role?
Well, nations have to be able to do both. They have to be able to deal with security concerns at home and also security concerns abroad. And I'm sure you probably know that there are isolationists in the United States who are not as interested in dealing with issues abroad. They would like America to focus inward. I can tell you that that is not President Trump's approach. He wants to do both. He understands that although he has a responsibility to deal with serious domestic issues at home, especially crime in our cities and out of control immigration, America is a leader on the world stage and has responsibilities to promote American and global security. He's not an isolationist. I think that's clear from his policies concerning North Korea, Russia, China, the Middle East. But I mean, I will acknowledge there are some other voices in our country, but Mr. Trump doesn't seem to be listening to them.
And looking ahead, how should the U.S. redefine its military and diplomatic posture to adapt to an era where both hard and soft power are being challenged?
Well, we have to have a strong and modern military. We have to increase our defense spending. We have to improve modernization of our military forces. Our shipbuilding capacity is significantly below where it needs to be to secure our freedom, and also to at least keep up with China, which has a much greater shipbuilding capacity than the United States does. This has to be fixed. But President Trump calls his approach to national security America First. It would be better called for our friends in other countries the Trump doctrine. And what that doctrine is that he wants to have a strong U.S. president, a competent national security team, a strong U.S. military, and a president uses military force prudently and only when he has to. A president that works through alliances but asks members of alliances to carry their own weight and to defend their own regions. But I guess most important, the president does not want to use military force as the first option to resolve global conflicts. He doesn't want to be like some of the presidents in the past who are too quick to run in and bomb things or try to deploy troops to change the political systems of other countries. Trump really is against that. I think he does believe in soft power, diplomacy, economic sanctions, legal sanctions, other tools of statecraft short of using military force. It's a big priority for President Trump, and I believe it is where our country is going.
Thank you very much, Frederick H. Ms. Fleitz, for speaking to us on Focal Length. With that, it's a wrap on this episode of The Focal Length. For more international news and updates, stay tuned on Newsx World.